time is 7 o'clock. And this is the March meeting of the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. Carmen, would you be willing to call the roll?
Sure. Annie Adams.
Present.
Susan Jones.
Present.
Tommy Griscom. Not attending. I just asked how to pronounce your name, and now can you pronounce it?
Choshi
Choshi Huang.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Audrey Ishii.
Present.
Bruce Mickelson. Keenan Portis. Sartak Prasad. Nancy Westcott.
Present.
And I'm Carmen Franks.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda that anyone would like to suggest? Everyone's good? Okay. We'll go on to the next thing. Approval of the February BPAC minutes. I was absent in February, but I did watch the video. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Annie. Any comments?
I didn't find anything.
Yeah, it looked good to me.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from the February meeting.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the February minutes are approved. The next item on our agenda, public input and commissioner communications. Well, we don't have any public here today. Does anyone have any comments on anything that came to them this week? Or this month, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I should save this to announcements or not, but MTD is looking to move out of Marketplace because the Marketplace say, please go out. So starting from this August, the Marketplace stop will not be served anymore by MTD. We will just stop at the Neil and the Center Drive, which is like the entrance place of the Marketplace. So this news is out, and we are looking forward to any public comments or public feedbacks about this. So the yellow and red route will be affected. Maybe some other routes, but we are not sure yet. So yeah.
Wow.
Big news. I know.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe you could mention it again in the announcements if you have anything more. That's probably big news to a lot of people in Urbana who might be using MTD to get there.
I would say Keenan was in the News Gazette this week because King Park is being redeveloped for the first time in, I believe, was it 2005, so 20 years. And he's looking to put together a committee of people. So if folks are interested in that, they can email him and get on that committee to help redevelop the park. And then the only other, I think, commissioner announcements are, I think a lot of us received emails about federal funding for a lot of the projects that are underway. And as we all know, some of the money might come, some of the money might not come. And I think that's about where things are at. And I did receive emails to sign a bunch of slips for from the, I don't know if any of you are also on this as well, but the witness slips from Ride, Illinois. There's quite a few good ones on there. My favorite one is about lowering the speed limit in urban districts. So that is, if someone's interested in that, you can sign witness slips for that.
How do we get the witness slips? They didn't come to us.
Yeah, that's the question I have as well. I got it as an action alert from the Illinois, from Ride, Illinois. So I am not sure how a person could get a hold of those witness slips. They do a really good job of rolling them out and just saying, here are 4 witness slips. And often when you get them, you really have to fill them out quickly. And then they also tell you how to fill them out. So I think I would actually suggest people go to Ride Illinois and sign up for their emails and ask them directly. They would be more than happy to have you fill out witness slips for this. Because I heard that the lowering of the speed limit in Chicago, I believe they wanted to set the default speed limit to 25, and it got shot down, which is really deeply disappointing, which means it's 30, which is, as we all know, 37. So that's really disappointing. And that city's so congested anyway, you're not going 37. So it's frustrating. But anyway, I was excited to see these witness slips come across, and I will fill them out.
And they're not hard to fill out.
No.
It's really kind of neat. You just say like, hey, I am in favor of this thing. And you don't have to add a lot or not. You can just, they are very easy to fill out and put through.
Okay. Well, I'd like to announce that this is going to be my last meeting for the foreseeable future. I've been traveling a lot, and I'm anticipating a lot more traveling coming up. So I'm going to step off BPAC, and I'm currently representing the school district. And I have let the superintendent, Dr. Ivory Tatum, know about this. And hopefully we'll find a replacement. And I'd like to say that it's been a real pleasure and honor to serve with all you guys. So I just thought I'd let you know so that maybe you'll cling to my last words for this meeting.
Audrey, how long have you been on this commission?
Since the inception, probably 18 years, I think, in July, something like that. Just probably when we first met. Brandon Bowersox did a lot of work to create this commission,
Right.
And I think he did an absolutely fantastic job, as it's turned out, because we have needed almost no changes to the bylaws. They have actually sufficed for all this time. And that being said, I did take a look at the bylaws to see what happens next. And actually, I'm not sure if there was any reference to an acting chair. There was the vice chair just runs the meetings in the absence of the chair, which is what we've had since July 2023. And so then I also understand from the Robert's Rules of Order that you elect a person to run the meeting at a meeting. If you don't have that vice chair, you would just choose anyone and elect them at that meeting. Also, I did note that the vice chair is supposed to be elected each year in the first meeting, which we haven't done either. Run a yearly election, the first meeting of the year. So I believe it will be up to Mayor Marlin probably to decide who would be the acting chair. We'll probably send her a note or something. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your work. It has made my life so much better living here, the work that you've put in, and I just really appreciate it. I know it's thankless. People really don't pay attention to this commission. They don't understand how powerful it is and how much of the budget we actually purvey over and how much we actually control. But I really appreciate your work, Audrey. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Yes, it's been wonderful to work with all of you. Okay. Next item, unfinished business. Public Works is going to discuss, and I saw there was a lot in the February meeting about this. So we'll look forward to what Carmen has to say.
Yeah, so this was brought on by, can you hear me? So this was brought to the commission by Nancy. And I have provided, again, what you suggested on one side of the sheet, and the other side of the sheet is what I provided to my leadership as suggested text. So we had talked things over at the last meeting, and I made some edits, and then I think I only made very minor edits after that, maybe just a few wording things. But the response that I received was that it would be preferred to have this as a separate announcement. Specifically the line change or the line addition in the first paragraph, that I was not aware that there's already a lot of confusion from residents about their requirement. So separating out the requirement for those that are in the snow districts versus those that are not is, what I was told would be the best approach for this. So I know we also talked about, or at least Nancy brought it up in a suggestion in email, that a reminder prior to an imminent event might be more directed and an impactful approach. So the existing announcement, as it is, comes out after the storm event. So, if we want to have it as like a heads up and a warning, this is coming, then the separate announcement makes sense that way too, because it would come beforehand. And I know our communications person, Bridget, does put out notes on social media sometimes. Like I saw something today about high wind coming. So it could be something similar to that, but, also send it to the media. We also talked about a lack of visibility of the announcement. So I guess there were a number of things to consider here. Well, one, should we still request an update to the existing announcement for the last paragraph changes? Two, do we want a new announcement to go out before the snow event that targets everyone in the city or those outside of the snow district? And three, are there ways we want to discuss to increase visibility of the announcement? So I brought it to y'all for discussion. That's all I have.
I guess I kind of liked it with this announcement, just because not all the forecasts are accurate if you do it before.
Right.
But in this one, it seems like this one will go out no matter what, and I'm afraid that unless we put it out at the same time, then it will be kind of forgotten, because Facebook posts, sometimes people put them out and sometimes they don't.
Sure, so you're thinking like an automatic announcement at the same
Right.
time that this one goes out, which is after the storm event, to tell everyone, please shovel your walkway, regardless of where you live in the city.
On the other hand, I don't care if the forecast is wrong. If saying, hey, there might be some stuff in the forecast. By the way, if it does happen, you should shovel your walk. I don't have no problem with that. It's, the more they hear it, the better.
Did you guys discuss, is there still confusion amongst people, like feeling that if they do something to the walk, then they're holding themselves liable for the safety of that walk? Did you guys discuss
I don't
that? Yeah.
I think that's
I
the
think that
confusion.
Well, no, I
Confusion.
did hear that at a meeting, and I assured them that was not the case, but I think it is still out there.
I think, yeah, that's part of the concern, and I'm wondering about the messaging that the Snow Angels program created. I'm sure they dealt with those kind of concerns in their messaging, because I think it's still out there that it says, for example, for the safety of pedestrians, and then you're like, oh my gosh, is this really safe for them, or is it inadequate? You know what I mean? I
and
understand
what
that there's
happens if
confusion and concern.
Like sometimes I shovel and then it ends up being, every once in a while, it ends up being worse because of what I did. But, I also know that, no, I'm not liable for trying. And then I get out.
And you're well informed, and I'm not sure everyone is. And I was wondering about the messaging that Snow Angels, the Safe Routes to School Snow Angels program came up with. Do you know anything about that, Josie?
I think that's also voluntarily for the neighborhood that's close to the schools. If I recall correctly, it's not, I guess the two will overlap, but that's not like a city release or something. It's just like voluntarily, please shovel your work. Right?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
it is voluntary.
And certainly school children would be a big reason to be doing this, amongst many others, yeah.
Well, if we did it when snow was in the forecast, could Public Works send it out? Because they usually do at least send out when they are going to plow. Could it be sent out at the same time as plowing?
I'm not sure what plowing notification you're referring to, but yeah, so it's through our communications person via Public Works. Yeah, I think a public announcement is, yeah. Short answer, yes. Yes, I think that's possible.
Currently, the communication plan is a press release, which not that many people get, and some social media, which again, doesn't really reach everyone. There are other solutions to reaching all your citizens, but at this time, the city of Urbana does not do that. So their Public Works is limited by what the communication solution, our current communication solutions are. So I don't quite know. I'm in a situation where I'm not sure using what their current system is. I am unsure how we can communicate. I am excited about the Snow Angels. I see the work they do. They do a good, robust campaign. Again, it's social media. A lot of people aren't on social media. So there are a variety. People in our current communication world are completely split apart, and you have to find ways to reach people in all those spaces. And our city right now does not do that, so I'm not sure.
Well, they must send out to, don't press releases go to all media, like radios, TV stations, newspapers?
Yes, that's the existing practice, yes.
So if, that would at least be one source, and then, so if we did that, then,
Yeah, so when people went to Channel 3, because that's where you go when you need to find out what's happening with the weather, that would be part of the whole process. So do we need to add something about you're not liable in here?
so what we're being directed to do is to create a separate,
Right. We could revise this language that's already being used, but tailor it to the message that you want to have.
Well, I just thought the word should might have some kind of legal meaning, and so I was thinking, I'm not sure if that you'd have to run that by whoever legal, because I know should, could, these things are different, but somehow
we're
that
okay as long as we
again
don't say
I'm
shall.
looking to okay, if it's shall, that would be required.
Right.
Okay, good. I think that looking to Snow Angels for advice on messaging would be helpful, at least to look at it, what they put out on Facebook or wherever they put it out. And this is to craft a separate message to go out at the same time, right? Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe we could include that, okay, there are maps if you want to look at it. Like we don't have to talk about the Public Works, but you can say, hey, if you want to look at the maps, you can go do that, but just delete the whole, delete the city ordinance part about it within the defined districts. And just like basically trim out all the stuff that's the stuff that's supposed to be separate. And just include and it might be more effective, hey, property owners, should clear their sidewalks adjacent to the properties.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it could be more fun sounding. I don't know, somehow, and less of a scold.
That's where the
the root of the
that's where
word
the
should
snow
is
angels-
scold.
Right.
okay. Well, I think that it sounds like more work needs to be done. I was just thinking this would be a really easy solution.
I did too. I'm sorry I misled you.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking that as long as an announcement was being put out, that just people volunteering to shovel snow would be a good idea, because that was what I heard on TV was that at least they were saying it, and it sounded like they were just reading this thing, and so I was just thinking that if we just added something to it, one sentence, that would be something.
Property owners are allowed to clear sidewalks.
Well, encourage. I think we could
Oh,
use the word
encourage.
encourage.
Yeah, I like that word.
The other words are suffer, undergo.
Recommends. We want recommends that we all.
But really, I guess I read somewhere that, I mean, they don't say specifically that you will not be prosecuted, but in order to be prosecuted for liability, that you have to prove malice, and so that it's just not done. So I read that somewhere.
I was not aware that that was the issue with confusion. I thought the confusion was more in people's responsibility, like where you are in the snow district, like they're not clicking on the maps and seeing where they are, so they don't really know what they're required to do and what they're not.
Yep.
So, my leadership just didn't want to provide any more source of confusion.
Yeah, and I agree. That
Except
tends to be the biggest confusion.
But they do have that paragraph that talks about shoveling snow outside of the district. I mean, that's just kind of the funny thing about it.
Right.
They do provide that information.
So Nancy, are you suggesting maybe before a major storm event happens, if we're aware that there's going to be more than, say, 3 inches coming, that we create a unique, separate, well-written, maybe 3 sentences, and then we allow, the city then can continue to send out what they need to send out, but we can create something that would preempt the storm. And it would just remind people, when the storm comes, please clear your walks. It's the same as I think what the snow angels are doing when you heard on the news. It's probably similar to that sort of messaging, something like that.
Yeah, I've never heard the snow angels on the news, though. But at any rate, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I just, yeah.
So this last paragraph would remain in the announcement, is that right? This paragraph about the property owners outside of the snow district?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in the existing announcement. We just
Right.
had some suggestions for adding to it.
For putting it
Right.
up front.
And I could still push on that. I didn't really get into that with my colleagues, but if we want to still have that detail in there about why this is important, I can continue that conversation.
Yeah, I think that last paragraph is important. I like the word encouraged a lot. The root of encouraged is heart, so.
Okay, instead of should, are encouraged. And then we want to keep in this detail about pedestrians, especially persons with disabilities, older adults, children, buses.
That's really good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can keep pushing for, this edit to this paragraph, and then maybe we next.
Well, and then it would sort of make sense, because it's like it's in that paragraph about the thing, just edit that, instead of like sneaking, like having other parts woven into it. Like when it's in the first paragraph too, then I think that's where the confusion is. Where if they say, here's the ordinance, here's what you got to do, here's what here's who has to do what. Oh, by the way, the rest of you, here's for you. But then I do think it would be cool to have our own kind of like, hey, it might be snowing, be a good neighbor, get out there and make way for the other humans.
Well, and it could be, I think the city encourages all property owners to shovel. It doesn't matter whether you're in or outside of the district. As
good
long as,
point.
long as you're encouraged to shovel, I don't see what's wrong with that. I mean,
Are you thinking of changing the?
Just in that first paragraph, if we just shorten the sentence to all property owners are encouraged to remove snow from their walks. And then
But I
that would
think
just.
that's, their problem is that mixing them is creating confusion. You know, mixing the,
Some people
who has to do
must.
this?
Yeah, some people must, and some people are encouraged, unfortunately.
But the
take-
people who must they already know, don't they?
That's, no. That, this point is to tell the people who must, I mean, and just keep, you know, have the people who should at the end. And I think it'll still get out there.
Well, I guess I was just thinking if we put it in the first paragraph, if we put a short sentence, then it would be read. Because you know, on a news broadcast, you're not going to go down to paragraph 4. You're only going to go to paragraph 1. That's why I just thought, you know, if you just said all property owners are encouraged to shovel their walks.
Oh, that is a good point. I don't think, I was just thinking, I've heard the announcement on the radio, and I don't think I have heard the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's a little long.
no, this would take 5
Yeah.
minutes to read, so that's
Yeah,
why I was
you're
thinking
right.
of, and who cares, I mean, the people who are in those zones they should know, don't they? I mean, well, somebody,
Okay, but then the idea of having a totally separate one, I think, is a totally worthy idea.
I think that is a good idea.
And then they can decide, you know, they can say, no, you know, we can kind of bow to their insights on whether to stick it in the first paragraph here, but if we have our own one paragraph that they can read.
Will it be read, though? I wonder.
Yeah.
One way to find out.
Pushed out to, like, as a public media announcement, then you'd think so.
That'd be great, yeah.
Is there a volunteer to craft the new announcement?
Sure, well, I'll work on it, and,
Hopefully, we don't need it
I
this
can
season, right?
yeah, and we've got a few months. I mean, it's likely not to snow again until
And then we can
next
change,
January.
we can change it to leaves. We can do one for leaves. Please remove your leaves from your sidewalks. But Nancy, if you need help, let me know. Just,
Okay.
I'm happy to run it through I'm happy to help you. If you do the first bit, I'm happy to make it tight.
Great.
All right.
Okay. So we have a small subcommittee on the snow shoveling announcement. Nancy and Annie. I think we probably don't need to vote since there's only 2. You don't need to keep minutes on your consultation. Next is the Vision Zero Network applying for city recognition. Hey. Okay. So I don't know how many of you checked your email, but this afternoon I did realize that I could send out an email with these links, and that would be ever so much more helpful. Oh, I do have some handouts here, I think. Ooh, I don't see, just a moment. Than just having, just showing them and not having the links. And actually putting it in an email just makes it easier, I think, to find, because we all have great search functions on our email, but trying to go through the city packets and figure out, now which meeting was that we talked about this or that, that is very time consuming. And I print almost all of our minutes. I have, by the way, as one of my parting gifts, I have boxes of documents relating to BPAC's history, and I do find it easier to go through the hard copy than to click, click, click through packets. But it suddenly occurred to me, man, if this was just an email, a quick search, Vision, you're not going to get that many emails up for Vision, say, if you're trying to remember when that was discussed.
But unfortunately, you have to actually log into your City of Urbana email and check your City of Urbana email, because it does not come to your Gmail account anymore. Yeah, if any of you haven't been receiving emails from the City of Urbana, it's because you have to.
I can't do it, so it won't let me do it, so I'm sort of out of the
Yeah,
loop.
I suspect a lot of us are flying without our email access. I did set up my email access. I had, of course, 400 emails when I got to it. It wasn't too hard to clean out, but it is an extra step that you have to remember to log into the City of Urbana website to get your emails.
And it won't let me log in, so.
You're looking,
That's
yeah,
easy.
you're having the Duo, the problem with the Duo, or is it just the,
I'm not sure, it just won't let me.
yeah, you'll have to, yeah, I think this is a problem for folks.
I think basically I need to find a time to call when it's not crazy busy
Yeah.
and have somebody that can like reset it.
Yeah, do you have a laptop or do you have are you using your phone?
I've been using my laptop.
Because I wonder if you couldn't, yeah, set up a time to come in and just bring it in. And I had problem with the like Duo mobile thing, and then somehow it just magically did it. And I also was able to find my password from like, 10 years ago. Like, it was all just like, oh. It took a while, but I got it.
It just doesn't work and I can't reset it.
Yeah, that's exceedingly frustrating. I'm so sorry.
I can send an IT request for you. I'm logged in all the time to my email.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem logging in, but except that I can't. And, I tried, like, I went back and forth and nobody, I said, can somebody reset it? Just reset it, pretend I'm new. And they were like, well,
You also have a new email address too.
that's what I saw. And then it
Yeah.
was like, okay, let
Okay.
me make this, now maybe I can make it work. And, well, no.
Carmen you would send it to like her Gmail address or something? That's the only way. I can think of no other way to.
Yeah, I'll get your personal email from you afterwards to make sure that you're seeing the instructions from IT.
Choshi, were you going to say something?
No, I was just saying, like, I'm using the web browser all the time to log into emails. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't connect to my personal emails because I feel like I might have the same problem, like Gmail thing.
Yep. Yeah, I just have to remember to do it. You have it.
You mean you go to the Urbana
Yep.
City webmail via your browser? Yeah,
Yes.
that's how I do it too. But remembering to do that is
That's where it's
difficult.
What I should do is set up like an automatic email from there to myself on my Gmail account and be like, check your email. And check your city email. That's what I should do.
A reminder.
Yeah,
Set a reminder for yourself. Okay. Okay. The next step on. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there more?
Usually our commission had like perfect attendance, and then once we got the new email address, people like kind of stopped coming, and I just kept laughing because I was like, I suspect nobody's getting the emails anymore, and we've all kind of forgotten to log into our email address.
And I suspect we're probably not the only commission suffering with this as well. I'm concerned about that because it's just it's kind of strange somehow. But I think your idea is awesome, Annie. Maybe you should spread that around all the commissions. Send yourself a daily reminder to check the email, because I hadn't thought of that. I was just completely baffled how I was supposed to remember. Okay. We're going to talk right now on the next step is obtaining recognition as a Vision Zero community. When we started on this Vision Zero journey back in 2020, I think things have gone so much better actually than I thought they would, in that our own, US DOT actually adopted Vision Zero, moving towards Vision Zero. FHWA has tons of Federal Highways Administration has tons of resources on that. I did not expect it to really be adopted by the government at large and then funded and become, actually mainstream. So that's awesome. But the other amazing thing is that Vision Zero was so forward-looking. They didn't have to change anything, which is amazing that they had. They did have to center equity more. They did a lot of work on, for example, speed cameras and red light cameras to make sure that those aren't going to have disparate impacts, which we haven't even gone there at all. They have done things, but they worked with US DOT on the Safe Streets for All materials, and they seemed like they were just working glove in hand. I mean, one would link to the other and back and forth. So it's pretty amazing what they've done. So these are the community, on this map, you see the communities that have received recognition as a Vision Zero community. Now, I don't believe there's any problem with calling yourself a Vision Zero community. This is the other thing. They're very non-proprietary. You get to make up your own kind of emblem, your own kinds of logos. And I don't think they have a problem with calling yourself one. You just aren't necessarily an official one until you've really taken all the Vision Zero steps. So it might be kind of cheesy to do that, to call yourself a Vision Zero community if you haven't made some effort towards those steps. I did look to see a little bit more detail on what kind of, the application process just looks really easy peasy. It's nothing like the cold level bike-friendly community application process, nothing like it at all. I don't think we would have any problem getting through that, provided that we can say we have a Vision Zero task force, and we do have one in that BPAC has been named as one, but we're missing some of the key elements of other city involvement, mainly the police. In this town, of course, we don't have our own public health. That would be the county public health. But as I mentioned to some people, I think that if we got together with the Traffic Commission, I know that Chandra Bishop has a lot of contacts with the public health community, and I heard the other day that in the February meeting that Sarthak said that he was working with Active Champaign County, I believe. So those would also have health contacts. So if we had a meeting, maybe even just once or twice a year, to go over progress on the Vision Zero action plan and to get these other entities involved. Now, they don't have the tons and tons of exposure that we have. They have virtually none. So I personally think it would probably be great to get a grant and start off with a facilitator or some sort of small workshop to try and bring everyone up to speed and up to the same foundation. Because otherwise, how many years have we been talking about this compared to what exposure much of the Traffic Commission might have, the police department specifically. So that's one of the logistical issues. In the email that I sent you guys, which most of you, I guess, have not received.
Sorry, I just had a question. What did we need the grant for? You just mentioned getting a grant for it.
The Safe Streets for All grants, they were giving them away like candy to finish your action plan, your Vision Zero action plan. And in fact, our RPC did receive a very large grant to update their two plans that they have for Champaign County. It's the urban plan and the rural safety plan. So it's called a safety plan. They added a few, they were missing the equity piece in their first draft, so they added something in there in their last version before they went for a Safe Streets for All implementation grant, because you had to have the action plan to get an implementation grant. Do you have a grants person working now, or?
We have a grants consultant, Farnsworth Group.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know there's some out there that have specialized in this specific topic, because we can go under, we are eligible for an implementation grant under the county action plan, but we also are eligible to get a grant just for action planning, just for the actual action plan, which would not have to be that different from the RPC. I mean, RPC has already done most of the work for us. All that would be missing is the commitment for city-wide actions, as well as the focus on analyzing city statistics that isn't currently, although I've spoken to RPC many times, isn't currently in their report. They're just lumping us together as one big entity, including Muhammad. Are they? Yeah, Muhammad and even Tolono. Yeah, Savoy and even Tolono is in there, but not St. Joe. I'm not sure the reasoning there. I don't think they're in control of that. I think that's something from the Census Bureau.
Okay, sorry, one more question. 'Cause
Yes.
this is pretty new to me, being fairly new to this commission. The task force, you wanted a task force to meet, and you're thinking the BPAC and the Traffic Commission make up the task force, and maybe representatives from the police department?
Well, the Traffic Commission does have a representative from the police department.
okay.
But ideally, we would get some funding from somewhere to at least kick this off with a facilitator, a Vision Zero expert of some kind, bring in some kind of workshop and maybe invite a little bit more of the community to get everyone, enthused and on board. That would be more ideal. I think we could make do if we had to on a very threadbare kind of just us and the Traffic Commission, but it would be hard because we are exposed to so much that I know the police department at least has, and probably not Chandra either, have been exposed to. So it would be ideal. I mean, I think we could make it work possibly, but it would take effort.
I've spoken with the police department about crash data mapping. And I just would, at this moment, like to send out my condolences to the folks who were in the most recent car accident. And the 2-month-old that died, and the other folks that were involved in it. I know that is a dangerous intersection where that happened. Have heard a lot of complaints and concerns about that intersection. And I also would like to send out my condolences to the family who lost the two women that died at University Avenue at Lincoln as well. That intersection, when that was redesigned, I was hoping would be a roundabout, and they would be with us if that had been. So this is actually very serious work. The majority of people that are dying in our cities, our children, are dying from traffic accidents or firearms. So this is very serious work. And I do know the police department is interested in crash data mapping, and so I think we could get them on board and work with them on that.
Yes, working with the police department is key. So some of the items, I'm sorry, I should have realized I should have printed the email for you too, because you didn't have time to get it, but it's in your email, so you'll be able to reference it. And the people who didn't make it tonight will have it too. The advantages that I could see to bothering with applying for this recognition are that we could publicize that Urbana has a traffic safety culture for all, and I agree with you, Annie, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Put Urbana on the map. It's like another, I think the gold level bike friendly is a big, big feather in our cap, and so would be being Vision Zero, a Vision Zero city. It would be a incentive to locate in Urbana. Similar to a comprehensive plan, it's a declaration of our safety commitment that can be highlighted for every priority decision. Just like you say, oh, this is our vision of where we're going in a comprehensive plan. You also could point to that and say, here's the reason for specific budget choices that have been made, traffic operational, such as a speed limit reduction, because we have this Vision Zero plan. And there are so many resources we would never lack for reasons. And then I also mentioned, again, the 2 tasks left is just to create that Vision Zero task force and complete their Vision Zero action plan. So, this, I'm going to show you just quickly. Demystifying the safe system approach. Okay, so I think as part of BPAC, if somebody asks you, you need to sort of be aware of, and this is repetition for many of you, but I think just to remind you, the safe system approach is not blaming individual drivers. It's an entire system that has failed. You need backups for the backups. And it's recognizing that people will make mistakes. We know that they have just recently. Bodies cannot tolerate crash forces, so we lower the energy of the entire system. And then the proactive part is recognizing, okay, in our town especially, we're just too small. We're not going to have 5 fatalities at Philo in Colorado. So we can't just fix Philo in Colorado and say, okay, problem fixed. We look at the whole system and see what other places have a similar situation that's going to be the next problem. And do it systematically, the whole system, and not just a piecemeal approach. So the traditional thing has been, okay, no crashes. In the safe system approach, we recognize there will be crashes, but we need them to be at a lower energy and in safer circumstances that prevents death and serious injuries. That's why it's so important to design for the vulnerable road user, for the pedestrian and bicyclists that have no armoring. Especially in this town where we have such a high rate of bicycling and walking. Control speeding is, again, reducing the energy of the entire system, not just the individual speeders. By reducing, one of the fascinating things they found is just by reducing the speed limit, it's those deviations that really come down. Not so much the average, which doesn't make that big a difference, but the deviations just feel it more. You know, if you're going 45 and the sign says 25, it's a little more noticeable. And instead of just reacting based on crash history, you decide before, you say this is where crashes are happening. You talk to the people and find out what kind of safety they feel in their neighborhood. Okay, so these are all things that we would, again, a consultant who does this all the time could probably present this a lot more smoothly for a Vision Zero task force to get them on board. And for that reason, I'm also going to jump to a couple very short videos. This is pointing out that we've got a safe system design with self-enforcing streets instead of relying on punishment for individual deviations. We make it so that people know what they need to do and are doing it because it fits the street environment. So going down, there, as you can see, there's just tons and tons and tons of resources. There's examples. There's how they, individual cities. So road design is, one of the things is having a culture of safety, so that is your top priority over level of service, parking or convenience. Safety is the number one thing. These systems are about serving people, not the other way around, et cetera, et cetera. Being proactive, trying quick build projects to see whether when major redesigns take time, you could move forward with some quick builds and see how it's working. I think there's a lot more acceptance if it's understood it's not permanent. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so going to resources again. It's just thing after thing, but that's why I have put the links along with how the flow goes in your email. So this is one of the interesting things is going now, so under Safe System Approach, we go to the Fed Highways page. So this is our federal government, at least as of this date, their view on the Safe Systems Approach.
It's early evening. Kathy is leaving her office after work, and she's crossing a street she uses every day to get home. Meanwhile, Denise is taking a new route through an unfamiliar intersection. Trying to turn left, Denise's attention is focused on the line of oncoming cars. She doesn't see Kathy in the crosswalk until it's too late. The force of impact to her body has a catastrophic result. How could this tragedy have been avoided? What if this intersection were designed and managed using a different approach? A safe system approach. The safe system approach for roadway design and management focuses on all road users' safety by accommodating human error and injury tolerance. The objective of a safe system is to avoid crashes happening in the first place, but if they do occur, to reduce the severity of conflicts between vehicles, pedestrians, and other road users. Modify travel speeds to match roadway conditions and reduce impact forces so that collisions are never deadly. The safe system approach can be summed up in these key principles. First and foremost, we must make a commitment that no one should be killed or seriously injured when using the roadway system. Second, we must accept the reality that people make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes cause crashes. But to avoid death and serious injury, the force of the crash must be within the physical human tolerances that our bodies can withstand. The roads and people who use them make up a system. All users and stakeholders in this system have a shared responsibility for incorporating safe system principles. We need to be proactive, not reactive, and create a system that prioritizes safety before crashes happen. And finally, redundancy is crucial. A safe system is more than the sum of its individual parts. When something goes wrong in the system, there must be backups in place to keep people from serious harm. Adopting a safe system will help us achieve the goal of 0 deaths on our roadways. 5 elements contribute to a safe system: safe road users, safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, and post-crash care. These elements are not sufficient on their own, but when proactively implemented as a whole, the entire roadway network becomes safer and protects against death or serious injury. Let's look back at the earlier scenario and apply safe system elements. In a safe system, a traffic signal with exclusive traffic signal phasing is installed, allowing for Kathy to cross separately from the conflicting left-turning traffic. Or an alternative intersection design, like a roundabout, effectively slows down vehicle traffic, giving Kathy a shorter and safer crossing. Denise's vehicle is equipped with a collision avoidance system, which alerts Denise of Kathy's presence in the street. Finally, post-crash care is in place, ready to provide medical attention if needed. A safe system provides layers of defense that work together to save lives. In this case, Kathy's life. Applying a safe system approach has no one right answer. Instead, it starts with one critical question. How can we design the roadway system around all users and make safety the default choice? In short, a safe system is built around people, and it's built for saving lives. Implementing a safe system is our shared responsibility, and everyone has a role. It requires shifting how we think about roadway safety and how we prioritize our transportation investments. The safe system approach is already being used successfully in several other countries around the world, and steadily gaining traction here in the United States. You can help strengthen and expand its use. Spread the word about how a safe system saves lives and consider implementing a safe system approach in your community. 0 is our goal. A safe system is how we get there. For more information on the safe system approach, visit the Federal Highway Administration's Office of Safety web.
I'm sorry. And then just to show you how they're actually changing their tune on speeds to recognize that lower speeds are more appropriate for urban areas. We'll look at the pedestrians at crosswalks. This is a 2-minute video that they also have posted.
Pedestrians can face many dangers when crossing the road. How am I going to cross this road safely? Did you know one of the most important steps you can take to keep pedestrians safe is manage the speed of vehicles at pedestrian crossings? Consider this. If this car moves through the crossing at 42 miles per hour, there is a 50% chance that I will die if struck. As speed goes down, however, the chances of a fatal crash drop dramatically. Another issue is sight distance. As a car goes faster, the driver has less time to detect me trying to cross. If a car approaches the crossing at 45 miles per hour and the driver notices me here, this is how long it will take the car to stop. Uh-oh. At 25 miles per hour, the driver has more time to react. Many urban cities are adopting the safe system approach and have changed their posted speed limits to 20 or 25 miles per hour. Driving faster near crossings also reduces the driver's cone of vision. As cars go faster, drivers see less. Slowing down opens the cone and helps drivers see pedestrians. So how can we slow cars down prior to mid-block pedestrian crossings and save lives? Glad you asked. There are many effective countermeasures. For instance, curb extensions bring the sidewalk or curb line into the parking lane, visually narrowing the roadway and improving sight distance between drivers and pedestrians. Pedestrian refuge islands also visually narrow the roadway while allowing pedestrians to safely wait for a gap in traffic, focusing on one direction at a time. For two-lane crossings, raised crosswalks are a great option. They improve visibility by raising the pedestrian to a higher level and provide a raised platform to slow cars approaching the crosswalk. Road diets can reduce the number of through lanes and the lane width, which encourages drivers to slow down. Road diets also reduce the distance people have to cross and create space for other safety countermeasures such as refuge islands and curb extensions. Slower vehicle speeds at crossings save pedestrian lives. Contact FHWA for more information on these and other life-saving countermeasures.
Okay, so before I go on to the next thing, which is we know that we had these two horrible crashes already in this year. We're already not at zero, obviously, for this year. We're far from it, and it's the kind of thing that we don't know exactly. Well, in the first case, we believe there was impairment in the driver. We don't know what happened in the second case. It's still being investigated, but we do know that everyone in that crash, and especially, of course, the family that lost a child, but also the driver who went through the stop, their lives have been horribly impacted. I mean, everyone is a victim in something like this. And we have to look at how do humans make mistakes. In that case, perhaps a vehicle was malfunctioning. We simply don't know right now. And that kind of trauma just doesn't need to happen. So Annie brought up, what could the system be that would prevent that kind of thing? And that's where I'm just going to go on to a quick primer on roundabouts, which includes a 1-minute video from our very own IDOT, which you will be thrilled to see. If there's any other discussion before we move on, any questions? Okay. I'm going to Google here. First of all, the IDOT video, as much as I love it, has a problem with the schematic, so I'm going to just Google real quickly what a modern roundabout is supposed to look like. Modern roundabouts, it's very important. There were flaws in earlier there were some flaws in earlier roundabout implementations that didn't work very well and gave roundabouts a very bad name. But modern roundabouts have mostly fixed those. And let me see. This might be it. So Kentucky is apparently into it, and I'm just showing this so that you can get an idea of the main features. So here's a simple roundabout such as could be at Philo in Colorado, where there's the main feature that's missing in the I.1 is this median splitter that controls the traffic and ensures that it has to come in at an angle. That's very important because that greatly reduces the tragic occurrence. The T-bones at intersections are the worst kinds of crashes, and we get those with traffic signals because people are trying to beat that red or missing it completely, as well as stops, which are normally lower speed. This seems to have been a higher speed for some reason. I know that the car that was named as the one that went through the stop is a very old car, so I'm imagining there maybe weren't the greatest safety features on that either. So anyway, it's
the
very
other-
important that it comes in at an angle. There's no T-boning in
Yeah.
this kind of
And-
thing.
Roundabouts increase the perception of risk, which is really important when you're driving a vehicle to feel the risk, which is why people don't like them. But they, as we'll see in this wonderful IDOT video, they do decrease accidents by 90%. And there are less choices. The woman that died here on Main Street, there were just too many choices for those cars, the car drivers to make, and thus she is dead because we gave people too many choices. So
Yes, that the number of conflicts at a roundabout is reduced from 32 to 8. And anybody who likes Sudoku or something can sit there and count them on some of these diagrams. But basically, there's diverging, merging movements. Those are the conflict points. In a roundabout, there's only 8 in a typical roundabout like this, 2 at each location. In a regular intersection, there's 32 places for cars to hit each other, and you're going to see that in the IDOT video.
So where are the crosswalks in a roundabout?
The crosswalks are down here. They're down where you go to the median, so you're only crossing one lane at a time. You're walking up to that splitter or that median.
I can see that.
You can see
So
the
are there-
crosswalks are down here, so that you're doing half
Right.
the road at a time.
I guess my question is there are no stop signs or anything, and no lights, so how do pedestrians know when to cross?
There are devices that are used depending on need at the crosswalks. There are hawk type signals, and I think that absolutely, if we move forward on getting some roundabouts, I understand there's hope that there's going to be one at Lincoln and Hazelwood, I think. On campus, Lincoln Avenue and Hazelwood, which will be a great opportunity to see how that works. We will have to do a better outreach to the disabled community, because there was hope to get one in at Philo in Florida, and the disabled community that lived near there did not want it, and that was pretty decisive in not doing a roundabout. So we need a lot more outreach and demonstration. And I'm not an expert on that topic at all, but earlier BPAC member really was. He gave several talks on it. Okay, so this is totally amusing compared to what the sea change we've seen in IDOT's attitude for roundabouts. I could watch this over and over again. And I think you can see the problem with that schematic. They still could T-bone in that. It's not correct, but it's attractive. Okay,
And just to
Shall
go
we
in the
get up and
Wayback
dance?
Machine for 2 minutes here, when we got the money from IDOT for University Avenue, we really worked hard because it was supposed to be safety improvements for pedestrians because people had been killed. And we just worked really, really hard to get roundabouts. We attended the meetings, we spoke very well about them, but IDOT at the time was not interested in roundabouts, which is such a bummer because anybody who works in this type of infrastructure knows we don't get to touch University Avenue for 25 to 50 years.
Oh, well, I especially love this sentence right at the top of the page. Modern roundabouts are becoming mainstream throughout Illinois.
Where was
maybe
this
not in just-
roundabout? I'm sorry. Where was the roundabout on University was proposed?
What happened was IDOT had money for improving University Avenue because streets are owned, different streets are owned by different folks throughout our city and are managed by. So they came and a lot of us attended presentations and talked to them. And so, for example, one would have been at, we know this massive intersection here, which is where I always say where the Walgreens is.
Cunningham University.
Cunningham and University. That's one possibility. Another possibility would have been the next intersection, which would have been at was it Broadway? Broadway, yep. And instead, they did these like ridiculously complicated intersections and turns and put in blinky yellow turn arrows at $20,000 a piece. A little further up, we had one at Lincoln where the incredibly tragic accident happened. Lincoln Avenue and why am I spacing the cross street? I would say it's by Bake Lab. Lincoln Avenue at
University?
It's Lincoln and University. Yeah, Lincoln and University, that intersection would have been. So you would have had this nice system of cars moving slowly through the whole thing without having to stop and wait for lights and make left-hand turns. And we would have had to figure out pedestrian crossings. And any of you who watch pedestrians now try to get through these intersections, you just cringe. But, so far, we haven't had any pedestrians killed in the new infrastructure, so.
Yeah, I took a look at crashes at Philo and Colorado and also Kohler and University. And so in the latest RPC report, covering 5 years, 2018 to 2022, there were only like 2 or 3 crashes at each of those locations. And there are other locations that have as many or more. So again, system-wide, we can't just react to one, but we have to say, where else does it look like this and is ripe for the next incredible, the one on University was 2 a.m. I assume the street was completely empty and wide open, and this person just, did not have awareness, but the road told them go, so.
And I mean, it's also, like, crash data doesn't talk about near misses, which I always talk about that's the Colorado and Philo. So many people have told me that is an incredibly dangerous intersection for all sorts of folks, and they're responding to. They're often responding to near misses. So near misses aren't recorded as they are like in the FAA. The Federal Aviation, does record near misses as well as crashes, and then they investigate them. And that's part of the safe systems approach, is looking into where are these conflict points happening and where are people getting injured, and not just killed, but injured, and where are the car accidents happening.
Yeah, I think that's so important where we don't have thousands of wrecks like some places do. I just one of the Vision Zero Network webinars I looked at was with engineers from Houston, and they had 300 and some deaths last year. I mean, obviously they've got a lot of statistics to work with compared to us, but when you look at the death per capita, the death rate per capita on the email that you'll see, you could look at Carmel, Indiana. They are very proud that their death rate per capita is much, much lower than other communities in Indiana. And it is, in fact, about half the size of ours, but I've read articles on them that rarely mention how much money they have. They have quite a bit. They have 150 roundabouts.
Yeah, but they had a mayor who aggressively put in roundabouts and pursued roundabouts. Roundabouts are more expensive at initial infrastructure. Your initial infrastructure costs are higher, but the back-end infrastructure costs go down as well as everyone's car insurance and all the other, associated expenses with crashes, so.
Okay, well, this has been a great discussion. I guess we should move on. Reports of city officials, and that would be Carmen.
So you covered the lower speed limit as well?
I think I
Okay,
did.
it's all part of the safe system.
That's what I was trying to emphasize. For a town like us, where we don't have a lot of money to put in roundabouts everywhere we should, we're going to have to, and there's plenty of research on those pages that I showed you that I failed to note the one on specifically, it was Seattle they were showing, but there's several others, Boston, that they found just adding more signs, just simply adding more signs reduced mainly the deviations, but also the crashes, which, probably is correlated, that the people speeding was greatly reduced.
Do you mean adding more signs with a
Well,
lower...
what I'm saying is, yeah, we can afford signage. I don't know if we can afford roundabouts.
But
Okay.
this all goes into like what could be in the Vision Zero action plan, right? If I'm understanding this right.
Exactly.
And so you're proposing next steps for that is that we get a task force together, ideally through a facilitator with outside funding. But without that, it would be this commission and traffic commission, and maybe a representative from the county health department. So we finalize an action plan, apply for getting listed as an official community once we have the action plan in place. And then anything else that I'm missing? I'm just trying to make sure I got all the major
it's
points
the
for
items
next
on the action
steps.
plan. For example, if you look at the RPC urban safety plan,
Yeah.
it has a host of possible actions, but it doesn't have any target. It doesn't have it just sort of vaguely says, city, who's responsible for this? Cities. So we would be looking at Urbana saying, we are planning to lower the speed limit. And we hope to get this done by, achievable SMART goals.
And I think all of us in this room understand that money right now is going to be unrealistic. But I do wonder if if we couldn't partner with RPC to, a lot of us at this point are experts on this topic. This isn't, I think we can work with folks. It's been normalized enough that I think a lot of people know about what it is and how it operates. So I think it's more like just trying to figure out what next steps were and how we can partner with the city and different players in the city to move it forward.
Right. I really see no reason to reinvent the wheel. This really we have more data resources than probably 90% of communities out there or more because of RPC. So, it's just splitting out the parts we need. They don't focus on per capita rates. They just lump Urbana and Champaign together for the most part. Making something that is specific to Urbana, because at this point, Urbana has made a commitment to be a Vision Zero city, and there's a very good reason for it. We do have a much higher pedestrian death rate in Urbana than in Champaign. We have many more walkers and bikers in Urbana than Champaign, so we are special, and being a Vision Zero community is something that needs to be highlighted. Now, it could be, I think RPC would be possibly ideal to work on this plan, but we could do it ourselves too if we had to. But it would be building on the work they've done.
I think so. And my other question is like, there's the Champaign County Community Coalition, which it meets monthly, and they talk about, certain aspects of different communities and what's happening in all those different communities. And I wonder if that maybe isn't even a better approach to something like this, because, Urbana is a small city, and you do end up intersecting with Champaign, and I know Champaign has some really great city planners right now that are working towards, going to also be working towards Vision Zero and other things. So I wonder if it isn't even something more on that level. It doesn't have to be every month, but that's also maybe another possibility, because RPC might be more open to working on that if it is a stated goal. And we won't go Champaign County Vision Zero. That's another thought.
CUATS is joint. It's looking at all kinds of transportation issues for the entire region, mainly Champaign and Urbana. That's the name, CUATS CU. But also Mahomet's involved, and Tolono and Savoy and so on. So we do have that coordination.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't mean to draw that out. Okay,
Thank you, Carmen. Good questions.
my project updates. It's pretty much the same as last month. Florida Avenue, shared use path. Plans are at 90% complete. We are on hold right now with the SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, reviewing the work outside the President's House. So confirmed with U of I, the house is a historic property, although it's not registered as a historic landmark. We have all of U of I's support for working in this area, and we will continue to relay that information to the IDOT Cultural Resources and SHPO that U of I's preservation group is totally on board.
And do we have the money for that project?
The path, yes. Because that is state funding. The $10 million for Florida Avenue is questionable. That's the RAISE grant. So we could be undergoing a project review for that. So I had some updates, not really updates. There's not really much to share with grants, but I had some thoughts on grants, which I can share after I get through the projects. Okay, so Baker's Lane, shared use path. The designer is working toward the 90% design plans. Construction is still anticipated to begin in early fall of this year, completed in 2026. CDBG sidewalk improvements. We're using CDBG funds on sidewalk repairs, primarily in the Dr. Ellis neighborhood along Beardsley Avenue. And that's to be completed by the end of this month still. That's in process right now. EQL streetlights, FY 2022 construction is underway to be completed by mid-2025. I think I was asked at the last meeting if those were roadway lights or pedestrian lights. It's a mix of both, 71 pedestrian lights and 6 roadway lights. The EQL FY25 program has been approved by City Council. Engineering is proceeding with the design. So that includes sidewalks, ramps, and streetlights. It was presented here in December by John. And also some traffic calming devices to be determined where those are located. But potentially Broadway Avenue, Kerr Avenue, and or Cottage Grove. Lincoln Avenue corridor study. So we still have not finalized the concept plans for that yet. I've been working with key stakeholders. Specifically, I met with the fire department recently and got their feedback, and we'll be regrouping internally to finalize those plans. Traffic signal improvements, planning to upgrade the outdated audio devices for pedestrian signals. I was asked last time if those would be the voice recordings or the beeping. So that just depends. I think it depends on the location. It's really determined by the PROWAG requirements.
What does PROWAG, what does that mean?
What does that stand for? PROWAG. I can't remember the acronym. Let me Google it. Okay. You Google it while I'm. Yeah. Make sure I didn't have any other updates from John on that one.
That's fun. Public right-of-way accessibility guidelines. ProWake.
Yeah, they're national guidelines. I forget which, if it's HWA puts those out.
It's so funny this moment in our political world where it's like, I'm like, do they still exist? Like, I know it's not funny. I'm aware it's not funny, but I still, I don't know, like it's on the highway department. I'm not sure who manages these, but I do see one on the highway department. I would need a person who went to school and studied this stuff to guide me.
Okay, so those are all my project updates. For grants, the SS4A grant program, I don't know if that's still going to be coming out. They anticipated it coming out this month, right, for the next round. But the website hasn't been updated since January. Since it was established under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, I think its future is unknown, since that's being highly scrutinized right now. But I believe our current grant that we have for North Lincoln Avenue, the FHWA contract is in place with RPC already, so I believe that is safe, the $160,000 pilot project there. Because, so we have some guidance that we got from MTD's consultant in DC on, the whole DOT grant evaluation process that's happening. And the major takeaways were that any award that is fully obligated means it has a signed grant agreement for the full amount of the award is exempt from the DOT review, so those are safe. Formula funds are exempt, so those are the non-competitive funds. And then for the others, you will hear from your agency if your grant is flagged for a project-by-project review, but it will take some time. And there's some information about what that project-by-project review could entail and how you may be able to make scope revisions to keep your grant. But basically anything that is not supported by the executive actions of the current administration and includes any of the many red flag words that have been put out. I don't know if all of you have seen the list. It's about 13 pages long of red flag words like sustainability, equity, diversity, etc. Those are getting cut or revised. I know with the RAISE grant, I think it has rebranded itself back to the BUILD grant. If you look at the website, it's gone back to the name of BUILD, which is what it was previously before the Biden administration. And that, I'm hopeful, will still exist. They've just cut out some of the pieces of it that the executive orders are opposed to. So a few of those things I want to highlight specific to this group. So they are identifying programs for which award selections may have included any of the following elements: equity activities, DEI activities, climate change activities, environmental justice activities, gender-specific activities, and when the primary purpose is bicycle infrastructure, i.e. recreational trails and shared use paths, etc., electric vehicles and electric charging infrastructure. So I saw that with the RAISE grant, they were slashing out anything that had to do with bike paths and trails. So that, I think is of interest to this group.
But that means we're safe, right?
Yeah, because the RAISE grant doesn't have any, right?
Oh, yeah, I think yes, I think the one that we applied for is safe because that is out of it. I'm just saying going forward in the future, all grants, all federal grants that have to do with bicycle infrastructure, I think, there won't be any new grants coming out.
I'll be honest, like I've kind of given this some thought. And if you take out the word equity from those grants, yet you do the installation and it creates equity, right, we've solved some good stuff. I just want to put that on record as saying if you want to take out some words here and there, and we will still achieve what we wanted to achieve. That's all. We just took out some fancy words.
Sure, I think programs like the RAISE program, they can still exist and still align with the current administration. You just take out some key words and it's still fine. But the grant that I applied for in October to fund the Lincoln Avenue project, the EPA Community Change Grant, I don't think that one will exist anymore. They had awarded, over 1.6 billion of the approximately 2 billion they had allotted for that, and they were planning to continue reviewing grant applications into the spring. And mine was one of the ones that had been turned in on time, and, you know, I received a filing number, but they hadn't got to the review yet. So we hadn't been rejected, but also
And
maybe
is that
too late now.
the whole, do you understand? I mean, one thing that I've learned as a person who's been in this space for many years, biking infrastructure and safety infrastructure tends not to be partisan. It tends not to be Republican or Democrat. It tends to be a thing that a lot of folks like. So I'm trying, and again, I know trying to understand what's happening on a higher level isn't going to make a lot of sense. And I'm not asking for logic. I'm just more curious. That was just a thing, like no bike infrastructure was just a thing. It was just a thing. Okay,
I
just
was
got
shocked
it.
to see it slash
Okay.
out of the revised NOFO
Okay.
for the RAISE grant,
And-
now
and-
build grant.
And I assume, what about like, did you see anything slashed for like things that provided transportation, like buses or anything like that?
As a rule, if it means less fossil fuel consumption, they want to get rid of it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't recall that specifically being one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it.
Yeah, yeah. I listened
That's
to.
just the pattern.
I listened to a great podcast yesterday about traffic congestion pricing, and because of the way anyone on this commission knows how roads are funded, they can set rules and decide what happens on those roads.
As an MTD employee, so far I haven't heard too many bad news, I want to say. But what I know, I'm not a grant person. What I know is there are many applications that we are not, hoping for the applications anymore. But what we have been granted or approved will not be taken back. That's my understanding on this. Okay. I also have a question. Would that affect the Safe Streets for All grant or applications, given the document you were mentioning?
If an agreement hasn't been put in place for the funds for those, then I think they're at risk. But if they've already been obligated, then I think they're safe.
Okay. So,
But
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've reached out to grant specialists that have been helping us with some of these applications, and I think the future is unknown for a lot of this. That's all I have for updates.
Thank you.
thank you for that update.
Oh,
But
actually,
if
wait,
we're not doing a lot of infrastructure, you know what we might have time for, which we never had time for before? Really working on our Vision Zero network plan and really trying to figure out what we can do if someday there is money to plan. Because seriously, we've had our city has had a hard time keeping up with. They've hired, hiring a number of engineers, getting people, and now we were churning through a lot of projects, and if those projects are slowing down, it might be a good time to really look at this. So at some point when we are allowed to pursue safe streets, we would be able to say, and here is a plan.
Things haven't slowed down for us yet.
Thank you.
I did have one more update I forgot from reports of committees, our newest subcommittee on e-bikes. I know Marcus has reached out to the subcommittee members. He'll be working with them to start holding regular meetings. That's all.
Thank you. I forgot to get a check on that subcommittee progress. Okay. Any new business? I don't know. I think that's just an item there. Announcements.
Okay. I need to make this announcement that MTD will be moving out of Marketplace since this August. Now there's a Marketplace North entrance stop that will be not in use since August 2025. So yellow and red will be affected. We are actively looking into the new routings to not serve there. So we will likely be serving the where the driveway is, like the Nail Street Center Drive. We will likely make that a new stop as the closest stop to Marketplace. And because of this very huge route change, we might also change some we might also change the routings on some other areas like Walmart or even the Ashland Park subdivision, but all of this are still in study. So we are welcome for any comments or feedback on this, and we will start hosting public hearings starting from April. So yeah, just any thoughts, any comments, we're welcome.
Thank you.
One announcement that seems kind of positive is I read in the News Gazette that the KRT, we got money from the state to finish it. So I haven't seen the money get doled out yet, but they said it would be done. Do you know anything about this, Carmen? But it was kind of nuts to see how quickly it might get finished. So I was sort of surprised by that. And I also want to thank, they had a great photo of some folks who had, like, I swear, 12 giant black plastic bags full of junk that they got off that trail. So thank you very much to that crew. And it was, I guess, mostly University of Illinois students. I really just want to say thank you to them for doing that work.
I was out there too with my daughter.
I also would like to thank Carmen for being out there with her daughter.
I don't know about the funding to finish it, but I do have my steering committee meeting on Friday. So
okay.
I'll update
because
you
yeah, they
that.
said it was like millions. They said it was kind of, I was like, where did this even come from? Like it was the first I'd heard of it, that we'd gotten money to complete the entire length of it. And then they didn't talk about like whether it would be pavement or gravel, and so these are the questions I ask. I'm just so curious. So that was one thing. One other announcement is the Illinois Bike and Walk Summit registration is now open. If you have not been to this, it is a very positive experience. It is a good crew of people. It will be Wednesday, May 7th and Thursday, May 8th. It will be in Springfield this year, and it's about creating connected, livable, thriving communities. Partners include Ride Illinois, Active Transportation Alliance, the American Planning Association, Illinois Chapter, Equicity, Illinois Environmental Council, the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and the Metropolitan Planning Council. Highly recommend it. They have reasonable prices for attending, and just really would encourage you to go if you have any interest in this type of activity.
Carmen, did you put out a notice about a Boneyard Creek cleanup?
I did. That's coming up on April 12th, downtown. It's intersection of Race and Griggs Street. You can sign up online. I can share the website with all of you later.
April 12th, so we will not have met before then. So this is the last opportunity. Yeah, okay. Great.
Can I email the group? The website, I don't remember what it is.
You might have better luck on Facebook.
If you do email me, I would appreciate that. I saw your first one. I saw the first. I'm one of these people who I'm like, if you ask me 3 times, by the 3rd time, I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
can share this with you right now. Hold on.
And I will mention that also, I sent out the presentation links and so on by email from my private email because I wanted you all to have my private email. And this is something that I will probably, and it gets, I believe it gets redacted before it gets posted anyway. This is something, though, that I think you might hear from me in the future. Feel free to reach out and contact me if you need help on anything at all. As I mentioned, I have boxes and boxes of records, and also I'm willing to do future research, especially on the topic of Vision Zero or speed management. And then, and I think it's just my thought that it might be a great idea, because I know that for a lot of us, it's very difficult if we're giving a presentation to get it done in advance for the packet, but if you send what you can out by email on this great city email platform, it's so easy to search for. I think it might be easier to find that way in the first place. And if you send it as public input, it'll be attached to the record. So that will be awesome, I believe. Because as I mentioned, it's very hard to go through packets, clicking on them, trying to find the thing you're looking for. And a lot of times it hasn't been there because we just get the presentation done minutes before we get here.
I have the news article up. It's Bridget Moen, Planning Director for the Champaign County Forest Preserve District, one of 3 administrative agencies for the project, said the $11.2 million state grant will fund the remaining work. And it's part of the Rebuild Illinois Capital Program. And so they talk about a total of 3.1 miles is done, 8.2 miles is done. So 13.2 miles is yet to be done. And it's just kind of nuts to me to read this. The work will be wrapped up by mid-April. And it's being done by Farnsworth Group. And shovels in the ground this summer. And then that also includes the trailhead at Weaver Park in Urbana. A contract has been awarded for the construction of that. And this is another exciting aspect for those of us who have been on the KRT. Mid-Illinois, concrete, not crushed gravel, concrete will serve as the contractor. So that's like to me, that is a huge deal. If they can make that concrete, that would be
I suspect that they
amazing.
also deal in crushed gravel.
Oh, stop it. Don't ruin my dream. You're taking my dream away from me.
Concrete might also.
I don't know. Come on, live the dream. Yeah, but it's expected to be extended to get all the work finished, but some of it's expected to be extended into 2026. But that's pretty amazing.
Sorry, this is the western extent is to Main Street.
Yep.
Right, okay, sorry, this is existing work. Yes, I was aware of this. I thought you meant farther west, because there is discussion about the studies to continue for going into downtown Urbana and to Champaign.
Yeah,
But
nope.
I don't
nope,
think
this
funding is established for that yet.
Nope. Yeah, nope. This is the 25 miles, where I have a fantasy that we're also going to be able to do Ironman activities once we get the 25 miles done. Again, don't crush my dreams. Yeah, so I don't know. To me, I just never thought that we'd get the 20. I just was always hoping we'd get the 25 mile done, and it's just really exciting to see that it is going to actually happen.
Okay, I have the Boneyard Creek website for anyone. It's www.boneyardcreek.org.
I look forward to not having an email to check soon. The sooner the better.
And Carmen, I do spend my whole day in like 5 different apps, but they're all associated with the University of Illinois. So I as well tend to be in, 5 different types of apps at the University of Illinois. But I will try to make a habit of checking my City of Urbana email. I promise. And I want everybody else to get on. I'm going to just start bugging people individually because I think I might have everybody's email address and just start bugging you all and be like, do you have email? Have you checked your email?
Thank you all for being here. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. The meeting is adjourned.